What if I told you the Vice President of the United States was caught in a moment the world was never supposed to see? A split-second glitch on live TV. A mysterious clip appears, and Kamala Harris is shown like never before, tense, unfiltered, and off-script. Was it a tech mistake, a planned leak, or something more dangerous? This isn't just a story. It's a moment that shook the internet, and you're about to find out why. It was supposed to be just another late-night interview, calm, classy, and controlled. The audience settled in, expecting the usual polished conversation between a seasoned host and a high-profile guest. Nothing unusual, just politics as usual, firm handshakes, pre-approved questions, practice smiles. The set lighting was perfect, the studio was quiet, and every camera was locked in. But this time, the energy felt different. Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, was the guest of the evening. It was a rare, exclusive appearance, a carefully timed media moment as the administration approached a critical juncture in its term. The stakes were high. Every word, every pause, every expression would be analyzed, repeated, and replayed across every screen in the country. The host, a household name known for mixing sharp wit with political heat, welcomed her with his trademark smirk. He was dressed in a navy blue suit, seated behind a vintage desk with coffee mug in hand. Kamala, calm and poised in an emerald green blazer, greeted him with a confident smile and a polite nod. As the show kicked off, the questions began easily enough. They spoke about leadership, recent bills, upcoming elections. The tone was measured. Kamala answered with practiced grace, her voice steady, her hands clasped loosely on her lap. The cameras moved smoothly. The teleprompters rolled. Behind the scenes, producers gave silent thumbs up. So far, everything was going exactly to plan. But that perfect balance didn't last long. Barely 10 minutes in, just as Kamala was making a strong point about education reform, something happened that would hijack the show and the entire national conversation. It wasn't scripted, it wasn't rehearsed, and it definitely wasn't approved. Without warning, the screen glitched for half a second. The live feed stuttered, just enough to make viewers blink. And then it happened. A strange visual appeared on the screen. A flash of a completely different clip, a raw, behind-the-scenes video, briefly replaced the main camera angle. It lasted only 3 seconds. But that was more than enough. The audience watching at home, millions of them, were stunned. In the inserted clip, Kamala could be seen standing in a hallway, speaking to someone off camera. Her body language was serious, even tense. Her voice, barely audible in the background, didn't match the calm tone she carried on a live set. She was mid-sentence, gesturing with her hand, clearly unaware she was being recorded. And just like that, the feed snapped back to the studio. Kamala was still talking, unaware of what viewers had just seen. The host paused. His smile briefly faltered. The control room froze. Viewers started tweeting within seconds. Wait, what was that just now? Did anyone else see a weird insert during Kamala's interview? Rewind. That was not part of the show. Within moments, the interview had gone viral. Not because of what was said, but because of what was accidentally shown. The calm, scripted evening had suddenly turned into a live crisis. The studio scrambled behind the scenes, trying to figure out what had happened. Producers leaned over switchboards, whispering into headsets, scanning their timeline feeds. Was it a tech glitch? A misfire from the control room? Or something more serious? A deliberate interruption? The host, ever professional, attempted to steer the show forward. But the tension in the room was undeniable now. Kamala noticed a sudden shift, her gaze flickering toward the stage crew, then back to the host. She raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. Not yet. And outside the studio, the world was already reacting. Just as Kamala Harris was confidently explaining her latest initiative, a plan focused on nationwide education reform, the broadcast took an unexpected turn. The camera, which had been fixed tightly on her face, suddenly switched to a split screen. Now, normally, a split screen during a live interview is routine. Usually, it shows a chart, a relevant news clip, or maybe some background footage to help visualize the topic. Something polished, something prepared, something approved by both the network and the guest team. But this time, it wasn't any of that. For exactly 3 seconds, a completely unrelated clip appeared on the right side of the screen. And what it showed was shocking. It was a raw, behind-the-scenes moment. No lighting, no microphone setup, no camera angles designed to flatter. Kamala was standing in what looked like a hotel hallway, facing a staff member. The clip had no audio, but you didn't need sound to feel the tension. Her posture was stiff. Her hands were mid-gesture. Her expression? Focused, firm, and visibly intense. She seemed to be in the middle of a serious conversation, possibly an argument. The staff member, only partially visible, appeared to be nodding, possibly being reprimanded or warned. Kamala's body language was nothing like the calm, composed demeanor she held on the live stage just seconds earlier. And then, just as quickly as it came, the image disappeared. The split screen cut back to the main interview. Kamala was still talking, still explaining her plan, still unaware that millions of viewers had just seen a version of her that was never meant to be seen. The host froze for half a second. He blinked, glanced offstage, and tried to continue with the next question. His voice faltered just slightly, enough that anyone paying attention would know something wasn't right. Kamala noticed. She turned her head slightly, narrowing her eyes. Maybe she saw the same flicker. Maybe someone on set moved too quickly. Or maybe it was just instinct, the kind of political instinct that senses when control is slipping. But before she could say anything, the world outside the studio was already in full reaction mode. Social media exploded. What did I just see? Did Kamala just get caught on a hot mic? Was that the hotel hallway drama everyone whispers about? Why did the screen flash like that? That wasn't part of the show. You pause and rewind. Something's up. On X, formerly Twitter, the clip was already being screen recorded, shared, and analyzed frame by frame. TikTok creators were reacting in real time, adding commentary, speculating wildly. Some thought it was a technical glitch. Maybe a control room intern clicked the wrong file. Others believe it was a deliberate leak, meant to expose something. And a few began spinning conspiracy theories, claiming this was a signal, a hidden message, or a planned takedown attempt from within the administration. Inside the studio, the control room was in chaos. Producers were shouting over headsets. One technician had gone pale. Another frantically scrubbed through the live file feed to find the source of the clip. The host, sensing the tension, tried to shift the energy. He asked a lighter question. He smiled. He nodded. He moved on, but his eyes kept drifting off camera. Kamala straightened in her seat. She didn't say a word about the visual glitch, but the slight change in her tone made it clear. She knew something had just gone very wrong. Meanwhile, for the viewers at home, it no longer mattered what she said next. The focus wasn't on the policy. It was on that clip. And from that moment on, this wasn't just an interview anymore. It was a mystery. It was a media moment. And it was already going viral. Within minutes of the strange visual flashing on screen, the internet exploded. Clips of the mysterious insert were everywhere, on X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and even on live-stream reaction channels. Viewers who had caught the moment live were the first to post their screen recordings. But it didn't stop there. The footage was slowed down, zoomed in, filtered, and broken down frame by frame. Every detail was being analyzed. The angle of the hallway, Kamala's expression, the unidentified staff member's blurred silhouette, even the clock on the wall in the background. People wanted to know, what was that, and why did it air live? The theories came flooding in. Some believed it was just an honest editing mistake, probably just a wrong button press. A tech-savvy user tweeted, could be an old clip that accidentally got cued during the show. Others were convinced it was a cyber attack, maybe a subtle hack of the broadcast system by someone trying to embarrass the vice president. This wasn't an accident. One post read, someone wanted that to be seen, and they knew exactly when to drop it. Then came the conspiracy channels. The same accounts that speculated about secret meetings, political cover-ups, and coded messages went wild. They began dissecting every second, claiming the clip showed a controlled confrontation or even a deep state disagreement. Some claimed Kamala's words, although muted, could be lip-read to reveal private intel. It was chaos online. Hashtags like hashtag Kamala leak, hashtag InsertGate, and hashtag hotel clip started trending globally. But one thing everyone agreed on, the clip was real. It wasn't CGI. It wasn't AI. And it absolutely wasn't supposed to air. Back in the studio, the pressure was mounting. Producers were panicking behind the scenes. The control room was in full lockdown. The broadcast delay was too short to cut it in time. And now, they had no choice but to address it. Midway through the next segment, the host, normally calm and in control, took a deep breath and looked directly into the camera. His tone dropped. The audience felt the shift. "What just aired was unintended," he said. "We're currently looking into it. We appreciate your patience and understanding." You could feel the tension in the room. All eyes turned to Kamala. But instead of reacting with anger, panic, or deflection, she did something else. She smiled. Not a fake political smile. A knowing, composed, almost amused smile. Then, calmly, she turned toward the host and said, "Sometimes the unexpected reveals the truth, or someone's attempt at creating a new version of it." Boom. Mic drop. The host blinked. The audience went silent. And then, spontaneous applause broke out. In that moment, Kamala didn't just recover. She took control of the narrative. And as the world continued to replay those 3 accidental seconds, it wasn't just a mystery they were talking about anymore. It was her response. After the show ended and the camera stopped rolling, one burning question gripped the nation. Was this a genuine mistake, or something far more intentional? The moment was brief, just 3 seconds, but powerful enough to ignite hours of analysis, thousands of tweets, and an avalanche of headlines. News anchors, online creators, and political analysts all asked the same thing. Was this clip inserted by accident? Or was someone trying to send a message? A few hours after the broadcast, the network released a formal statement. According to them, the video was an old internal rehearsal clip, never meant to air. The error, they claim, happened because of a new intern working the live feed software, who mistakenly cued the wrong file during the interview. It sounded plausible, believable even, but many weren't buying it. Why would a private, unaired, behind-the-scenes clip, one that showed Kamala Harris in what looked like a serious off-record conversation, be sitting in a live feed folder in the first place? Skeptics began digging. They pointed out something that hadn't been publicly discussed until that moment. In the clip, Kamala appeared to be referencing a closed-door meeting about immigration reform, one that hadn't been publicly confirmed yet. Political commentators jumped on that detail. Some argued this could have been a strategic leak, quietly arranged by someone on her team to gauge public reaction without making an official announcement. A subtle test balloon. Others were far more cynical. They claimed it was internal sabotage, possibly by someone inside the network or even from within the political apparatus. A well-timed 3-second exposure designed to embarrass the vice president, plant seeds of distrust, or destabilize her growing influence. Theories spread like wildfire. YouTubers released hour-long breakdowns. Reddit threads dissected the time code, the hallway wallpaper, even the shadow on the floor. But while the online world debated, one thing was crystal clear. The moment had already left its mark. For critics, it raised serious questions about transparency and trust. For supporters, it showed a rare, unfiltered side of Kamala, tough, direct, and human. Whether it was sabotage or just a slip, it didn't matter anymore. The story had taken on a life of its own. And for Kamala Harris, that fleeting moment, unintended or not, had changed everything. In the days that followed the broadcast, Kamala Harris was everywhere. Her name trended at the top of X, formerly Twitter, for 4 straight days. Memes, reaction videos, conspiracy breakdowns, and political think pieces flooded every corner of the internet. The clip, just 3 seconds long, had now been viewed tens of millions of times across platforms. News outlets couldn't let it go. Morning shows replayed it with expert analysis. Late-night comedians made jokes. And political commentators, well, they treated it like an open wound, poking, questioning, spinning their theories day and night. For some, Kamala's image had taken a hit. The clip showed a side of her they weren't used to, firm, impatient, direct. For others, it was refreshing. They saw a woman in power, unfiltered and human, someone who didn't always hide behind perfectly rehearsed answers. The speculation continued, until Kamala herself stepped back in front of the cameras. 1 week later, she appeared in another televised interview. The tone was different this time, more personal, more reflective. The host asked her directly about the viral moment. No evasion, no spin. She looked straight into the camera and said, "I believe in transparency." That clip, it was real. It was a hard moment, yes. A behind-the-scenes conversation caught off guard. But that's what leadership is, showing up, even when the cameras shouldn't be rolling. The audience applauded, not because she was perfect, but because she was honest, because she didn't hide, because in a world full of polished statements and PR filters, Kamala Harris had just owned the moment everyone else tried to dissect for her. The public's reaction? Split. Some still questioned the timing. Some doubted the story about the intern. But many, especially younger voters, applauded her composure and courage. Whether you supported her politics or not, one thing became crystal clear. She had turned a live mistake into a defining moment. As for others involved, the host of the original show saw a 30% spike in ratings. His channel landed 3 new sponsorships and a follow-up exclusive with Kamala. The intern responsible for the broadcast error quietly resigned. His name wasn't released, but industry insiders said he'd been offered another role at a smaller station. The internet? Still obsessed. Theories continued. Reactions multiplied. And the clip became one of the most discussed live TV moments in recent political memory. But beyond all the headlines, edits, and noise, something else happened. People started talking about leadership differently. Not as perfection, not as PR, but as presence. The ability to stand tall in the unexpected. And you? Well, now you know the full story. What began as a controlled, scripted interview became something much bigger. A glitch? A leak? A trap? Maybe all 3. Maybe none. But one thing is certain. Kamala Harris got inserted into her own story, live. And the world has been watching ever since. If you found this story as shocking as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold truths, unexpected twists, and powerful moments that leave the world talking. Hit the bell icon so you never miss when the next story drops.